Welcome back to their video, and in today's video we have our WrestleDream results and review. After a very, as a fan of AEW pay-per-views, this did feel like a very long card, but I do still think this is a very fun card. A lot of great matches on this show, but overall, after the night is over, how do you feel overall?
Yeah, we had a lot of rematches happen on here. We had some weird finishes sort of happen, but we also had a lot of fantastic, amazing, fast-paced wrestling that we'll get into shortly because it happens at the start of the card.
Yeah. Quickly running through the pre-show, we had Death Riders taking on the Conglomeration and Roderick Strong, where the Death Riders did come out on top. And then we had Eddie Kingston and Hook defeat the Frat House, who ended up also being the belt holders for Mercedes Moné later in her match. And then we had Harley and Willow beating Megan Bayne and Penelope Ford. And then in the last pre-show match that kind of bled into the main show, which is really cool, was FTR versus Jet Speed, where FTR got the win, which was also a really fun match. Definitely a good, cool way to kind of introduce the night, kind of kicking off from your pre-show into this, kind of bleeding in. They're all just fighting each other, so it was really cool. But getting into the main stuff, we start off with Jamie Hayter taking on Thekla. Before the match, they had the announcement that everybody will be banned from ringside, so we got a straight-up one-on-one. And in the end, Jamie Hayter comes out on top and defeats Thekla, completing the beating all three women of the Triangle of Madness.
Yeah, definitely. I didn't necessarily expect Jamie to win like I kind of did, but going into the match, I definitely kind of changed my mind about it, and I thought Thekla was going to win, especially after she had this fantastic new entrance that they gave her where the camera was upside down and she was kind of like hanging from a spider web kind of look, and then it flips back upright, and it was very cool. Kind of like Penta's a little bit in WWE, but obviously in her with her own vibe and everything with the spider thing and all that. But yeah, very cool entrance, maybe one of the best ones in AEW right now. But very cool stuff from Jamie and Thekla. They both look very good. Good way to start off the show. And once again, proving that women's wrestling in AEW is amazing.
Yeah, this match was a very good, strong opener. I think this is exactly what I wanted from Thekla. I think in the prediction video, we said that we want a match to kind of say, like, hey, this is who Thekla is. And I think this was a perfect example of that. Obviously, she did come short and lose this match, but I think this is probably her best performance and is probably my favorite Thekla match to date so far. And then Jamie Hayter, amazing. She kind of took a lot of the offense from Thekla throughout this entire match, but in the end, her strength just comes out on top, and that's what kind of got her the win. But yeah, this was a very fun one. And then after the match, we seen Queen Aminata come down, and then she kind of hugged and celebrated with Jamie, and then the rest of the Triangle of Madness came out to kind of get back Thekla. So we got our Blood and Guts women's teams right there, so we obviously don't have the full teams, but we know those 5 women will be involved on their respective teams. So getting a little bit of a build to Blood and Guts, which we will be attending, so obviously everything that happens with that is going to be very exciting. So yeah, good way to kick off the night though.
Yep.
And then next up, we had a 500K tag team match between Jurassic Express and the Young Bucks. And in the end, Jurassic Express wins their 500K. And Luchasaurus ended up at the end of the match throwing away some of the money to the fans. So hopefully somebody walked out with a nice little chunk of change. But a very fun match. What do you think?
Yeah, this was surprisingly good. I went into this with, I don't want to say low expectations because it's a Young Bucks tag team match, so it's always going to have, a certain star rating to it when it comes to them. But, Jack Perry hasn't been someone who's been my favorite. Luchasaurus kind of has his moments for me where it's sometimes really good, sometimes really bad. But this match right here was probably my favorite Jack Perry, Luchasaurus, and maybe even Young Bucks match because they were just all over the place. Luchasaurus was really showing off his athleticism, doing moonsaults multiple times throughout this match. Jack Perry surprisingly kicked out of a ton of finisher spams from the Young Bucks, and he looked very strong. It was kind of weird, maybe 1-2 too many during this match because it kind of gave off kind of like a weird vibe at times. It was like, oh, is he gonna lose? Oh wait, no, he's not. He's getting the shit beat out of him. But this was a very fun match. Had a ton of fun, but this was definitely my favorite Jack Perry and Luchasaurus match that I've ever seen.
Yeah, I think going into this match, Jack Perry had a lot of people, myself included, who, didn't know what to expect from him in this new run with Jurassic Express. But I think this is a great way to kind of kick things off. A big match with the Young Bucks. It's kind of hard to have a bad match. I think I said that in predictions. And it was really hard for them to have that bad match because it wasn't. This was very fun. I love the interactions through everybody. Jack Perry, I think, definitely could get back to where they kind of wanted him to be and be a top god down the line, as long as he became a babyface. I think that is the key to him now, that we've seen is keep him babyface. He'll be very good. And yeah, but then after the match, the Don Callis family members come out and they attack Jurassic Express after their win, and they kind of want to help the Young Bucks, and they kind of like go up to them like, all right, come on, let's keep beating them down. Young Bucks kind of say, you know, we're good, and then they walk out, and then out comes Kenny Omega, who comes out to fend off everybody after having a little standoff with the Bucks. So maybe we get some type of the Elite Reunion Part 92. But yeah, really cool moment. So this could be, again, another Blood and Guts build where we could see Kenny Omega and the Jurassic Express team up against the Don Callis family and the Young Bucks potentially.
Yeah, Kenny Omega is someone that we haven't seen live yet. So if he were to enter that Blood and Guts match and we were able to see him live, that would be amazing. That'd be a great person to kind of check off of my checklist of wrestlers I want to see live. But yeah, great angle that they did there. I love the angle, like you kind of mentioned, where Kenny Omega's walking down the ramps. He kind of tells the Bucks, like, hey, let's go get him. And they're like, you know, we can't do that right now for you. And, you know, they kind of tease, like you mentioned, that, you know, maybe we'll see them in the future to some degree get together, maybe with Jurassic Express, maybe it's just with Kenny and they just kind of form the old Elite back together. But there's a couple different things they can do with this, but I am excited to see how this grows into the future with their storylines.
Yeah, I think it was recently as well that Matt said it would be kind of stupid for them, now that they're in the end of their careers, that they don't have another reunion and one final reunion between the original Elite, that being Kenny, Bucks, and Hangman. So yeah, could be some really cool stuff with the Youngs. Obviously, it's a played out story, but it is usually pretty good when they do it. So yeah, hopefully some good stuff continues from the Young Bucks and Jurassic Express. But going into trios action now in Tornado's trios, we had a #1 contenders match for those trio titles where the Hurt Syndicate took on the Demand, and the Hurt Syndicate come out on top, and in a very fun match that didn't overstay, but it was a good little 13 minutes, and it was pretty fun.
Yeah, this was, like you mentioned, 13 minutes, short, sweet. They got to the point. I like that it was Tornado Trios match. It made it more interesting, more just viewable, like just a more pleasurable viewing experience, seeing everyone kind of get together and being able to do their tag team moves without a referee kind of interfering with it. They got a table spot introduced in here as well. That was pretty cool. Yeah, not too much to talk about here. Hurt Syndicate win, and then we'll go on to face the Ops next.
Yeah, I think whether it is Samoa Joe walking into that match with that world title in that trios match, I think him and Bobby face off will be very cool, and that should be a pretty fun 6-man match. But going on to the TNT Championship now, we had Kyle Fletcher defend his champion against Mark Briscoe, and unfortunately for Mark Briscoe, he falls short, and Kyle Fletcher retains after a nasty brainbuster on the turnbuckle.
Yeah, this was their 5th match of their series that they had. Not my favorite match of their series. I do believe that their last match that they had before this was probably my favorite. They went a little bit more hardcore and, you know, a little bit more bloody in that one and everything. So that one was pretty fun. But this one went 24 minutes. I feel like you probably could have shaved a few minutes off of this one and, you know, gave a few to maybe the next match that was out on this card. But this one was pretty fun, and obviously you're never going to be let down in a Kyle Fletcher and Mark Briscoe match.
Yeah, I did really enjoy this match. I do agree that this wasn't their best match by any means, but I also think this goes to show how good of their matches have been in the past. But yeah, I do like that Mark Briscoe's kind of still floating in this area where he's still consistently being on the pay-per-views and stuff like that. And I'm glad that Kyle Fletcher is still retaining, showing that he is still the future guy for this company. And yeah, Don Callis family, stay strong. And following that, we had the AEW Women's World Championship on the line, where Toni Storm tries to reclaim her world champion against Chris Statlander in her rematch, where unfortunately for her, the end of timeless Toni Storm seems to have happened as Chris Statlander picks up the win here in a very fun match.
Yeah, this was a great match, and like you mentioned, the big question is going to be, will she continue the timeless Toni Storm gimmick? Will she find a new one? I always have the trust in her to pull off whatever character she can, because after this, I kind of just gave her all the trust. I think she could kind of pull off any kind of character that she wants to, but as far as the match goes, it did exactly what we wanted it to do. Chris Statlander wanted to kind of prove that she can pin Toni Storm cleanly, because obviously she had to roll up in their previous match, and that's how she won the title. So yeah, she wanted to prove that she can pin her. She puts her in her new submission hold. I don't know if there is a name to it or not, but she puts her in that and basically taps her out with that, where we get to a point where Toni Storm just ends up telling her, just fucking kill me, and then she basically does just that, and she hits her with the finisher for the end. But yeah, this was a great match. It went about 16 minutes, and it was a perfect 16 minutes. I feel like they filled that time perfectly, and they told a great story.
Yeah, and then in kind of transitioning into the next match, it was announced last night during a Samoa show after Mercedes Moné won. She announced that she would have a open challenge against any world champion or any champion of any company around the world on WrestleDream. So she would have her open challenge match, and she would interrupt Chris Statlander during her celebration, and she basically said, "Hey, get out of my ring. It's my time now. You had your fun. My turn." And it kind of had a weird standoff to the point where I did feel like Chris Statlander was just going to challenge for her right there on the spot. You know, obviously Chris and Mercedes have their history with one another. So it kind of had that feeling towards it. But Chris Statlander walks to the back, and out comes Mina Shirakawa, your current Ring of Honor TV Women's Champion, interim champion. And yeah, this is kind of, like I said, a kind of abrupt match. Obviously, you didn't know who it was going to be, but Mina being the opponent, she ended up losing this title, so we now have 11 belt Moné.
Yeah, I wasn't a huge fan of it being Mina Shirakawa. Obviously, there's a lot of speculation going into this. Before, it was kind of known to everyone that it was going to be a championship only. Like, it had to be a champion. A lot of people were speculating maybe Dakota Kai shows up here, but it was going to only be a champion. So a lot of people went to Sayori, and there's a few people that were mentioned in the passing for this match, but it did end up being Mina Shirakawa. And yeah, Mercedes Moné is now a Ring of Honor champion, so maybe that will give Athena some reign to kind of come after her once again and kind of take another Ring of Honor title. But yeah, very interesting match from these two. They did really good here. Definitely nothing bad between the two. But as you mentioned, she kind of did the thing with Chris Statlander, and Chris Statlander would come out after the match and kind of pay that off as well.
Yeah, really cool transition into matches. Obviously, this wasn't something that was a plan. We didn't know plan, but it was a really cool segment. So yeah, cool little way for the women to end off their night, because that was your last women's match of the night. But next up, we have the World Tag Team Champions on the line, where we've seen Brodito go against Okada and Takeshita, where Brodito comes out on top and defeats Don Callis family.
Yeah, this was maybe not even surprisingly good at this point, because everyone has been behind Brodito except me, seemingly. But I think this match might have got me more behind him. Obviously, I'm not a huge fan of Bandito. I think sometimes I just don't really vibe with his wrestling sometimes, but I feel like this match, he worked it really well, and there's nothing negative that you can say about this match. I feel like Brody King, he's an absolute star. He came in destroying everybody. The dogs were barking tonight. But yeah, Bandito, absolute just... He did very good tonight, of course, as you would expect. And then, of course, Takeshita and Okada, the split does happen. Not fully officially yet, so I guess we'll see more of that on Dynamite potentially. But we did get Okada flipping off Takeshita, then hitting him with the clothesline as well, and then kind of laughing at him as he kind of wheels off. But yeah, a lot of interesting things happen here. We got some storyline beats. We got great wrestling. Everything about this match was very, very good, and I was very impressed with everyone in here. Takeshita, he hit a crazy German pullback slam on Brody King. That was just amazing. I was like, how the hell can you lift up Brody King like that from a face down position all the way up? It was crazy shit, but only someone like Takeshita could do it. But yeah, this was a very fun match, 27 minutes, and they deserved all of these seconds that they got here.
Yeah, this match was, like you said, extremely fun, and also it was just, like you said, hit everything that you wanted to it. It had a fantastic in-ring action. It had, you know, your storyline pieces with Okada and Takeshita that we've been wanting to see kind of brew more, and it also kind of sets up the TV stuff to be a little bit better as well between these two. So yeah, just an overall great, 30 minutes between these guys, and glad that Brodito retains. They go on to continue this reign that has been very good for them, and yeah, hopefully their next opponents have just as good of a match as Okada and Takeshita did. But next up, before we get into our co-main event, we have some announcements. We had the announcement that we will get the reveal of the Women's Tag Team Champion bracket this week on Dynamite, and then we will also have the trios match between the Hurt Syndicate and the Ops as well. So yeah, Dynamite looks pretty solid this week, and yeah, should be pretty fun.
We also got the announcement that at Full Gear, we'll be getting Chris Statlander versus Mercedes Moné for, I believe, both titles. I don't know if they mentioned that'll be both or if it's just the women's world title, but to some degree there will be titles on the line, and we're getting the third match of Chris Statlander and Mercedes Moné.
So it should be pretty good for Full Gear. But going into the co-main event, surprisingly, it was not the I Quit match, and it was Hangman Adam Page and Samoa Joe. This match was obviously for the World Champion, and Hangman Adam Page comes out on top and retains over Samoa Joe.
Yeah, I think this match, knowing everything that did happen during this match and after the match and what happens during the main event, I probably would have put this match just ending it. We did get a really good match between these two. I was kind of not too excited going into it because we sort of seen this match somewhat recently with Swerve being injected into it with a triple threat earlier last year. So I wasn't extremely excited to see Samoa Joe back in the world title picture. I was kind of hoping someone else would kind of come in that was new, but they did end up putting on a really good match, as you would expect. Obviously, Samoa Joe is a legend. He's one of the best that we have. So yeah, he did exactly what he does best, and he put on a very good wrestling match. And then at the end of the match, we get something that was unexpected to some degree, I feel like, and that was the heel turn of not just Samoa Joe, but all of the Ops in general. And they came out and attacked Hangman Adam Page, held him down, and hit him with his own belt. And yeah, a very just crazy spot there. Definitely did not expect that to happen, and it's just crazy that you know, after a big angle like that on a world champion, that didn't main event still, but that would lead into our main event.
Yeah, this Hangman and Joe match was really good. It's exactly like you wanted from it. You kind of knew that Joe wasn't going to win, but there's always that chance that he can win it because he is one of those guys that are just always believable to win any match. But then also that end angle I think was really good. Gives some hype back up to the Ops. I think a Powerhouse Hobbs and Hangman match is kind of on the horizon. I wouldn't mind that being a world title match, either on a Dynamite or on the next pay-per-view. And also Shibata as well. I wouldn't mind him getting an opportunity. So yeah, hopefully this Ops heel turn kind of really shakes things up in that trios division that really needs something to kind of pick up the momentum, because since the changes of the House of Black and the Elite, things have kind of turned down a heel a little bit. But I think with the Ops kind of picking things back up, heel turn could be really fun in this trios division. But now for the main event, the match that everybody has been waiting for and how it would end. It is the I Quit match between Jon Moxley and Darby Allin. And this one was pretty fun and really crazy, but we'll get to it later. Darby Allin comes out on top and defeats Jon Moxley.
Yeah, before we get to the end that I'm sure a lot of people will probably be talking about, I'm just going to go over, you know, all the crazy shit that happened during this match beat by beat real quick. So, first of all, we got Moxley immediately getting a chain wrapped around his fist and beating the hell out of Darby Allin with it. Instantly bloodies him up. Then I believe after that it was the skewers. We got some skewers stabbed in between his nail and his finger and just stabbed in there crazily. Just eye-wrenching, and you don't even want to look at it kind of thing. Crazy stuff. He power bombs them on the steps, like while they're straight, like on the angled side. I believe he did a paradigm shift on a chair, almost like a brainbuster style paradigm shift, by the way. Also believe he got thrown. He did another paradigm shift through a table. Death Riders beat the shit out of him. I could go on and on, but basically they just beat the shit out of this entire match.
Yeah, it's kind of surprising if you kind of look on it, how it finishes and like play by play. It does look a little crazy how Darby ends up winning this match, but we did see the big return in the re-showing of Sting in his all white mustache and hair now. So yeah, cool to see Sting. He gives the bat to Darby, which kind of allows him to beat up Jon Mox a little bit and eventually put him in a Scorpion Deathlock to eventually get the win, which does fall a little flat for a lot of people. I am not a fan myself. I don't mind it too much, but I do agree with you that something a little bit more extreme should have happened for Moxley, because he kind of got off a little bit easy. But I could feel that this is not the end of Jon Moxley. He kind of did it on purpose, so he didn't have to die during this match. But nonetheless, this match was still a very fun one. It just sucks that the ending does kind of take away from it.
Yeah, I had a lot of fun throughout the entire match. It's just that ending just didn't do it for me. I feel like with everything that Jon Moxley has done, he basically retired Daniel Bryan, like one of the most beloved wrestlers of all time. Basically, took out Samoa Joe and injured him for a certain amount of time. He has injured Darby Allin himself leading up to this match. He took him out literally this Wednesday and choked him with his own flag. He defeated him in that last match. He has done all these crazy things to everyone. He's beaten up Willow Nightingale. There's so much bad stuff that Moxley has done, and it literally came down to Darby giving him a scorpion deathlock in the ring. Now, obviously, it was on glass, but visually on camera, there was like water in the ring. You couldn't see the glass, so it just looked really bad. I didn't feel like it was like, oh my god, what is happening? I didn't get that feeling of like, oh my god, during that. Yeah, definitely not a good payoff for everything that Moxley has done to everyone in AEW. Flipped the locker room upside down, took out multiple people, including Orange Cassidy, I believe, very early on into the Death Riders thing. But just so much crazy stuff has happened and just didn't really pay it off in this match. But like you mentioned, it might have been on purpose so he can't stay around. You don't want to take him out to where, in storyline you have to take him out for months at a time during a time where all your main eventers are kind of injured at the moment.
Yeah, like I said, the finish itself I think could have done way better. I also could see it being that they had a lot of ideas that could possibly have ended this match, but maybe legally and, for the TV rating wise and just how things work, maybe they couldn't do some of the finishes they wanted. I could see that being a problem. They couldn't figure out, a safe finish for this match. But yeah, I do think outside of the finish, it is a great match, but that finish does take away from it a little bit. But in the end, Darby Allin gets to raise the AEW flag and stands tall over Jon Moxley, and hopefully now we get to see some big things for Darby Allin going into 2026 and finishing off 2025.
Yeah, for sure, and I'll mention this as well, but also during this match, probably the biggest spot that we didn't even mention was that Jon Moxley drowned Darby Allin multiple times during this match. He got a fish tank in there, he filled it up with a bunch of water, and he kind of dumps his head in there and tries to get him to say, I quit a few times during the match. Sting, when he does his big reveal, he has his bat, he breaks it, and that's kind of how all the water got into the ring that I was mentioning earlier. Just so y'all not confused on why there's water in the ring. They weren't doing the match underwater, I promise. But yeah, good card though.
Yeah, but with all the matches capped off, what was your favorite match of the night?
Surprising, it's a hard one to pick because I really love Brodito versus Okada and Takeshita, but I also really love Jurassic Express versus the Young Bucks. So it's all kind of a tie between the two, but if I have to pick, I'll probably just go Brodito versus the Don Callis family.
Yeah, but that would do it for our WrestleDream results and review. Let us know what you guys think down in the comments below. Let us know what your favorite match was and your favorite moment of the night was. And yeah, if you guys haven't already, make sure to leave a like and subscribe to the channel, and we'll catch you guys in the next one.